Welcome to my Rotary Show, doing good and having fun. I'm your host, past District Governor Jamie Mick, and I am very fortunate to have some experts in the Rotary Foundation. We're going to talk about the depth of the Rotary Foundation today, and I'm going to introduce three of our experts. Now, two of them are from our very own district. Of course, past District Governor Treleaven, who actually has at the zone level a position where he is the Endowment Major Gift Advisor. So that means he advises not only our district here in 6950, but all of the districts here in the Zone 34. And then, of course, we have the beloved Debra Lowe, who is the Senior Major Gift Officer for Zone 34, and she resides out of the Orlando area. And then, of course, our Cajun boy, Mr. Jared Brown, past District Governor, District 6950, and very beloved as well. These three, when you ask me a district or a foundation question which I don't know the answer of, these are the people I refer you to because they have the answers. We're going to talk a little bit about the foundation and kind of start at the beginning and then build up through that. So this particular program is going to be broken into 6 different segments. We have some folks in the audience that are actually watching us right now that are going to join us, and we're going to do a little switching in and out. So stay tuned because it's going to get real fun, but you're going to learn a lot about the foundation, and that's kind of the point of this, is to be able to give you some snippets of information for the foundation and really talk about the depth of it. So first and foremost, now we always call the Rotary Foundation our charity of choice as Rotarians, but a lot of times I get asked, why should I support the Rotary Foundation? Why shouldn't I support something locally? So let's talk a little bit about why. Why the foundation? Why Rotary Foundation?
So why the Rotary Foundation? We are, as you said, the charitable arm of Rotary International. We are the fuel for all the good work that Rotarians do locally in this district and around the world. And we do enable Rotarians to do local projects through funding, and we also enable them to do international projects, partnering with fellow Rotarians around the world. We are one of the most highly regarded charities. We have a 5-star rating by Charity Navigator, and that demonstrates how responsible we are with the gifts that are given to the foundation. And I think one of the things that really sets us apart is the fact that we enable Rotarians to tell the Rotary Foundation where they want their dollars to go. And that's in addressing 6 areas of focus, and it's disease prevention and treatment, education and literacy, child and maternal health, economic and community development, peace and conflict resolution, and of course, water and sanitation. We're great stewards of our funds in how we spend your money, and of course the fact that 50% of what goes into a district to the foundation comes back every 3 years to fund local and international projects.
And I think one of the things that needs to be pointed out is, the foundation for a long time, a lot of it was controlled up in Evanston, where they really had the control over the purse strings. And many times we gave them feedback as district governors, as zone officers, and said, the districts want more control, they want more control. And lo and behold, the year I was governor, Carl led us through that change where we really have a whole lot more control here in the district over those funds. We get more funds than we used to get, and we have more control. And I think that that's really empowered a lot of clubs to do some fantastic projects in the last 6 or 7 years here that have really impacted the local community. I think a lot of times they think of the Rotary Foundation as only for international projects, and that's a misconception. Mm-hmm. Really, especially for us since that change, most of the money that we've funded in our district is local projects. There are not a lot of global grants. I mean, people are still touching and feeling and learning the way down that road, but the bulk of it is district grants that are happening.
Well, a simple way to think about it is for every dollar that's given to the foundation this year, in 3 years from now, 25 cents of that is going to come back for people in our district to be able to designate, mainly to local projects, things their club is doing, things in their area, but it could be somewhere else too.
Right.
And 25 cents also available for global projects.
Correct.
And the other way to think about it is not so much as district and global, but size of the grant. So if you had a project that's up to $30,000, then it would be considered district. more than that, it would be a global. But,
Yeah,
but the key point is half of every dollar you give ends up coming back to us.
Right, and I think that's important for people to understand is that there's a pay it to play, but you get it back.
Well, just this year, clubs in our district are figuring out how to spend $99,000
Yeah,
in district grant projects locally here as well as scholarships.
right.
And those were monies that did come back in our district that we have available for clubs to utilize
And what was
for
the
various
total? About
projects.
25 different projects altogether?
A combination of 10 district grants and probably 6 or 7 scholarships.
Okay,
And,
all
then, as we said, in addition to that, we have global grants that comes out of another pool of funds.
Right.
That we're utilizing to, we have a scholar right now that we hope gets approved and would go and study over in, I believe it's Scotland.
I think so.
I think it's
Yes.
Scotland.
And then several fantastic global grants. And Carl has one in the works that will be over $100,000. So big scale projects. And that's what Rotary, the network of 1.2 million and this great foundation can do. We can do projects that of magnitude that make a big impact on humans.
And we make a huge, I was just going to mention, a huge impact. I mean, we really, truly change and save lives through these grant projects. And, most of the time when you talk to a Rotarian, and I won't ask all of you because we really want to focus on the foundation, but most of the time, one of the first questions I ask a guest is, give me your Rotary minute. Give me your Rotary moment. Tell me why you're a Rotarian. And 9 times out of 10, what they tell me is some story about a project or grant that they did either locally or internationally that really changed their view and really married them to Rotary. Those grants are so powerful, not only for us as members, but for the impact we make in the communities that those projects are done in.
Absolutely.
Well, I could simply say, in my case, it's polio.
Right.
Rotary's signature project. Jared, maybe talk a little bit about what we're doing on all that.
No question. Polio, likewise, Carl, is very near and dear to me because
you're
now
daddy.
I have been in Rotary about 35 years, and literally we launched the Polio Plus campaign back in 1985. So we have been battling and attacking this polio where in our country it's not very prevalent. It just is non-existent, so people don't think it's a problem. But yet when we started the campaign in 1985, there was over 350,000 cases around the world.
Every single
And
year.
Every
single
year,
year.
just building.
And to think today, we're down to, I just checked today, this year to date, only 5 cases.
Five
Five
We're
cases.
in
5.
3 countries. We were down to 2 countries, and mainly because of Pakistan, Afghanistan, because of the wars,
Right.
and also
And the
the
transient
challenges
back and
with the
forth.
terrain. But to think to date, only 5 cases, as we said, we're this close. And without question, it will be the greatest humanitarian effort pulled off by a foundation ever. And
And
we will accomplish it.
Oh, yes, we will.
And
We
I think
will.
the thing to point out when you think about the power that Rotarians have, and one Rotarian can make a difference, this project was started with one Rotarian's vision to inoculate the children in the Philippines.
Right.
And to think how far we've come since 1983, 1985 is truly amazing. So much to be proud of.
And again, we had earlier, a couple of months ago, we had David Stovall and Cindy. They Skyped in. And then we had Karen here as well. And listening to them and their stories and how it changed them. And I had the pleasure of seeing David and Kim just after they'd come back. We had a zone meeting over in Orlando, and it truly changed them. It changed them as people. And they said, this, it was hard to talk. It was hard for Kim, It's so dear to her. It's very hard for her to talk without getting emotional because what she saw was so impactful. She says, as much as we gave them, we took back with us. And that made a huge difference.
And going back again to the scale, to think that we have over 1.2 million members, throughout all the free world. I mean, 180 something countries.
Yep.
This just doesn't happen without that mass of volunteers, passionate people that are involved in Rotary. And when they immunize these kids and do those drops, to think over a weekend, the armies of volunteers, families, employees of all these Rotarians immunized, this is back a number of years ago, over 190 million kids.
Yeah.
That's what's incredible and so important to me, that we are doing things in a scale that are making a difference.
Right. Well, it also points out that problems like this aren't simply checkbook problems. In other words, it's not a matter of just getting enough money and writing the check and taking care of it. The problem would have been solved otherwise long ago.
Yeah.
But in fact, it's coordinating so many different people, so many different places, and that's where Rotary really excels in this.
Oh yeah, I mean, we really know and really have it down. Not to brag, but we do a fine art of building relationships. I mean, your dad tells a story about going to
South Africa.
South Africa. And every time he tells that story, it just gives me goosebumps, because he walked in there just to try to gain cooperation.
Okay, now wasn't he talking to Nelson Mandela?
Nelson Mandela.
Okay, and he was president of South Africa at the time.
Sitting
right?
in the president's chair, because Nelson didn't want to sit in the chair. He let Mr. Brown sit in the chair. And I think, listening to those stories and how, he traveled the world just to gain cooperation. And, who else has the backing of Bill and Melinda Gates? I mean, that's huge to have that kind of backing.
And when you speak to how highly regarded we are, when we received the first grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the $200 million challenge, that was at the time the largest grant that the Gates Foundation had ever given to anybody. And the fact that this relationship continues now, still, where they continue to match every dollar that's given to Polio Plus is matched by the Gates Foundation 2-to-1, is truly amazing. And I hope everybody is going to attend convention where Mr. Gates will be speaking, and we are anticipating some new announcements to be made.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Tell you, one of the most moving stories that my father also relays is when he and my mother were sitting with Pope John Paul.
Oh, yes.
And the Pope just kept saying, tell me more, tell me more. And he talked about what Rotary's doing around the world and the polio. And then he asked His Highness, what can I tell and relay from you? And basically he says, tell Rotary, thank you for saving the kids of the world.
Yeah.
Pretty strong.
It is, and one of my goals is to spend some time with your dad and actually record some of those stories, because they're priceless and they are unbelievably moving. As my husband says, every time we visit your dad and walk away, my husband always says to me, just think of the hands he's shaken, the people he's shaken hands with, and he is just so down to earth, and the passion is still to this day very, very evident.
It's on a daily basis between emails and the calls that he receives from folks all over the world. And I remember when he was, and my mom came off as president and first lady of Rotary, we were in Calgary, and the magnitude of people that came up to us just as family members, crying, saying how much they love my father and my mom and the impact that they have made. So Rotary, in addition to the great works, the organization is comprised of people so loving, so compassionate, and so much believe in the works that they're doing. And we're colorblind to race and to culture.
Oh, for sure.
It's helping mankind.
Yep. Well, listen, guys, we're running out of time for this segment. We're going to go to break, and we will be back right after this short commercial break.
thing Rotary did and how much bigger than it was than what I thought it was. And so I wanted to join. I wanted to be a part of that.
You know, we laugh. It's a bunch of old guys that get together for lunch every week, and it's the furthest thing from that.
It's so much more than I originally thought it was. It wasn't just about making friends. It was about going out on a random Friday morning and helping to build a barn.
You know, we tend to be a little compartmentalized in our lives, and sometimes we forget people in our community who need help.
The face-to-face, the personal engagement with individuals and in the community is, you can't find that or replicate that elsewhere.
Whether we come from one walk of life or another, it transcends all of that because we come together in the name of service.
As a young professional, I just think it's one of the best things I could possibly have done.
Welcome back to my Rotary Show, doing good and having fun. Now you're going to notice a new face. We've got Gene Stern with us. He's the Major Gift Committee Chair for District 6950, our district right here. So welcome to the show, Gene.
Thank you.
Now we were so passionate about talking about Polio Plus and the beginnings of it and the stories that we forgot to really talk about major gifts versus major donors. So Debra, explain the difference between the two.
Absolutely. As a major gift officer, as you explained, I focus on single gifts of $10,000 or greater. Those are considered major gifts. A major donor is somebody whose cumulative giving over a period of any time reaches that $10,000 threshold, and that's when they're recognized as a major donor. All gifts to the Rotary Foundation are equally important, but major gifts, those large infusions of assets, be it cash or other ways to make gifts, which we'll talk about, really have a tremendous impact on what the district can do and, of course, what we at Rotary can do in supporting programs.
Okay. So now we want to talk a little bit about how are some alternative ways, other than giving cash, because I know Debra loves it when we write those checks and send them off, but other ways to give other than simply stroking a check.
Yeah.
I think one of the easiest ways, other than, as you say, stroking a check, are appreciated securities.
Right.
Most folks have some type of financial advisor and over the years have invested in some securities. And the thing that's most, I think, important and impressive is you get to capitalize on that appreciated value. So unlike cash, where you stroke that check dollar for dollar, which is wonderful and you get the deduction, in an appreciated security situation, you may have bought 1,000 shares of Apple, let's just say, 5 years ago, and $10,000 invested in that. 5, 6, 7 years later, that same stock could have appreciated, which We all know Apple, for instance, has, to $50,000. Well, you now have the ability to gift that, and that gift is at full face value and market value of the stock. You have avoided what will be $40,000 in capital gains.
Right.
And needless to say, you certainly have to talk to your CPA. There's limitations, and there's also other things that will play into those type of deductions and what an individual can certainly take against his taxes. But it's easily transferable. And again, to think that you can make potentially that size of a gift on a much smaller cash basis is very, very, to me, exciting and incentive for me to utilize something like stock.
Right, because it's really in the end a win-win, because you aren't paying the capital gains, plus you're gifting to Rotary. So
Correct.
you're really, again, changing lives.
And I'm able to maximize
Right,
twofold, maybe threefold my gift to Rotary.
right, right. Well, what are some other ways?
Well, life insurance. Most people, as their families are growing or the business is growing, they buy life insurance to meet some kind of financial obligation, both to the family or the business. But as they get older, many of those obligations are no longer there.
Right.
And so you own life insurance. You have as beneficiaries whomever you want to be as beneficiary. One of the simplest thing a person can do, because you can have as many primary beneficiaries as you want.
Yep.
So a life insurance policy that you already own, all you have to do is call the insurance company, ask them for a beneficiary change form, add the Rotary Foundation to some level as a dollar amount, and the rest of it can go to whomever you want it to go to.
And very easy to do. I mean, I changed mine online, just logged in, changed it online, and an actual email comes out, and Rotary International was notified of the change. So when I increased it, when I didn't need to have as much security as I had, I didn't change what I was doing, I just gave it to Rotary. So again, as my mother says to me, there are no car top carriers on any of the caskets. So you can't take it with you. So you might as well give it to a worthy cause that, again, is changing and saving lives, and something that you're passionate about.
And to add on what Gene said with the life insurance policies, I also, as a young man, been involved with Rotary. I and my wife, we did a second to die policy at a young age. And certainly the beneficiary, Rotary, and a couple other organizations are part of that. But because at such a young age, young Rotarians can do this. The annual premium was very low.
It's nothing,
And, once you've paid in for about 10 years, again, you have to check with certainly your life insurance provider and what have you. But it is very advantageous for a young couple in Rotary to capitalize on a second to die policy.
Well, I think the idea that the death benefit is going to be life insurance is not a taxable event when a person dies.
Right.
And so if you want to make it a charitable gift, that second to die policy that Jared was talking about, you can gift that to the foundation. Now, how you do that is you make it a gift, and then you send the premium, which may still be due, to the foundation who pays the premium. Now it becomes tax deductible. So not only do you have the benefit of no tax to your estate, but the foundation gets the money that you're sending, which is also a tax deductible contribution.
Okay. Okay, and I think there are some other ways, IRAs, yes?
There is. In 2015, of course, we know that the IRA charitable rollover was made permanent by Congress, which was a wonderful thing because that now enables Rotarians and non-Rotarians, because we do sometimes receive gifts from non-Rotarians, age 70 and a half or older, to make a transfer directly from their IRA to the Rotary Foundation and not incur that tax burden.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that's a great way to make a gift. And I've had Rotarians who are not aware that they could do that, because as soon as that check gets in your hand, then of course you have the tax burden.
Right.
And the other way, to Gene's point when talking about life insurance, that's just one way that you can actually name the Rotary Foundation in your bequest, where you're making a gift, which I like to refer to as the gift you're not going to miss,
Right.
which is a gift that's made in your estate plans, to where when you pass and second to die, when your spouse passes, a gift to the foundation. It's really a legacy gift. And by making a bequest, you are really ensuring that the Rotary Foundation will continue to do good work in the world for generations to come. I like to refer to the endowment fund as our savings account, because realized bequests that go into our endowment fund are not spent. It's the spendable earnings that help to support the programs. So just a great way to leave a legacy of your love of Rotary that's going to continue to do good in the world in perpetuity.
So let's talk just for a moment, because we've covered really the subjects that we wanted to. Let's talk for a moment about the auto pay, because I will tell you that personally that's what I do. I know several folks that have signed up for that because it's just automatically there. I don't worry about it. I just know that $100 a month is going to come out of my checking account and it's going to go to Rotary and it's done. Okay. And I think some folks think that it has to be $1,000 a year. It doesn't.
It does not.
I believe the minimum is $25 for an auto pay, correct? So it could simply be $25 a month or $25 a quarter. And then it just happens, and you don't really have to worry about it. And you just start to think about it as another bill. I look at it as paying, just like paying my utility bill. I mean, everything's on auto pay, and it just comes out of there, and I don't really worry about it too much.
And it's very easy to sign up for Rotary Direct. You can go online and sign up for it. I know a lot of Rotarians who make their gifts through Rotary Direct where it's going on a credit card, so they're earning Sky Miles or other points. So there's a lot of benefits. It certainly makes it easy and painless to kind of budget that into your other bills, and it certainly is, a great thing for the Rotary Foundation. It really simplifies some of the administrative burden that we have. So it's been a win-win for all of our donors and certainly for the foundation to go ahead and process these gifts.
We have a Rotarian here locally who uses her Discover card because she gets cash back. Okay, so she uses her Discover card enough. We all know her. She travels so much between here and Washington, D.C. and other places around the world that she's able to get enough money back in cash back. It almost pays for the contribution that she made to the Rotary Foundation. So in the end, if you really figure it out and you use that frequently, you're going to be able to actually give that cash back to the foundation rather than it coming out of your own pocket. So
I think another way, a lot of clubs are utilizing this kind of pay direct, if you will, because they're now, when they send the invoices to their members,
yes,
a lot of them have add the foundation, $100, and that has helped simplify as well as help increase the dollars that the foundation is receiving. Anything that helps simplifies, if you will, is certainly advantageous for our foundation.
And that goes back to the conversation we were having in the previous segment. Many of these clubs want to get to at least $100 per capita. So they do that, so $25 a quarter makes it $100 per capita, and so then they can qualify it as a lead club for a grant. And that has really, really, really become more popular. Yeah.
Well, it's the culture. And why wouldn't you invest in your foundation?
Right.
And we want every Rotarian every year to do at least a minimum of $100. And again, it's creating that culture. We're all members of this foundation, and it's a foundation that gives back to us locally in our community 3 years later.
Yep. We're going to take a short break and continue this conversation in regards to Major Gift. So we'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
Hi there, I'm Robert Hall, and this is your Convention Minute. On behalf of the host organizing committee and Rotarians from the great state of Georgia, I'd like to personally invite you to Atlanta for the 2017 Rotary Convention. We can't wait to welcome you to celebrate 100 years of the Rotary Foundation. Come experience the energy of Hot Atlanta, music, shopping, dining, sporting events, arts, and more. We have it all for you. We're planning a celebration to remember. Don't miss the centennial birthday party or our unforgettable host events. from barbecue and bluegrass to dinner at the World of Coca-Cola or the College Football Hall of Fame. Come celebrate with 11,000 local Rotarians. Meet famous artists, CEOs, leaders from the top companies and institutions in the world. The 2017 Rotary Convention is an event you will not want to miss.
Welcome back to my Rotary Show, doing good and having fun. Again, we've switched guests here. Carl's back. So we're going to talk a little bit more about really about the Rotary Foundation and other ways to give gifts. So let's talk a little bit about other ways to give gifts, because I've heard some creative things, and when Mike and Carl start talking about crunching numbers, I really do end up kind of just glazing over.
Okay.
Well, one of the great things about the Rotary Foundation and why I love my work as a major gift officer so much is that I have the opportunity to build wonderful relationships with Rotarians, and certainly Carl and Lena, we've worked together over a period of years to actually craft some gifts that have worked very well for you. And it's a great way to fulfill your own philanthropic goals, and there are ways that you can also see an income stream and tax advantages come back. Now, the Rotary Foundation does not dispense legal advice, so we always advise you to speak with your financial planner or your state attorney, but we can certainly sit down and have conversations about ways that you can support the Rotary Foundation, support specific programs, and then also receive an income stream. So one of the most popular ways to do this for somebody who's 50 years of age or older, usually around age 70 is a better age frame, is by establishing a charitable gift annuity. So for a gift to the Rotary Foundation of $10,000 or greater, you choose an investment stream. You receive fixed payments for life and for your spouse's life, and then you also receive some tax advantages. For a larger gift, a gift of $100,000 or greater, you can establish a charitable remainder trust, and then there are certain more levels of that, unit trusts with flips, and I know we're not doing a planned giving seminar, so we won't get too deep in the weeds, but these are great ways to set up trusts that are going to benefit you with the tax benefits again, and also an income stream that can vary depending on how risk adverse you may be. And it's really going to enable you to support the Rotary Foundation to a greater level. And again, these are legacy gifts that upon your passing, all the funds will go back to the Rotary Foundation to support the programs that you really have decided hold the most meaning to you, because it would all go into the endowment fund. Again, the principal is not spent, it's the spendable earnings, but you can set up named funds that are going to say if water and sanitation is your passion, then your funds, proceeds in perpetuity are going to support global grants in that area of focus.
Why don't you go back for a moment and talk a little bit about the annuities and in terms of certainty of income, especially for older folks who are unsure, obviously don't know their life expectancy.
Well, they're on fixed income at that point, so they sometimes get a little nervous about making a gift because they want to make sure that they're still able to keep the lights on.
Yeah, and I have a great story I can tell about that is, I received a call from a Rotarian one day who I didn't know and told me who he was, and I said, how may I help you? And he said, well, you really can't help me. And I thought, oh, this will be an interesting conversation. And I said, well, I can certainly try. And what he was calling me for was to tell me that he was happy because he had received his payout from his gift annuity. So he has it set up on an annual basis. And so he gets a nice check that comes to him, and it's like bonus income. And it enables him, like he said, to go out and just do something fun.
Right.
One of the other wonderful things you can do with a gift annuity is set it up so that that payment comes on your anniversary or on your spouse's birthday.
Right, so you have the funds to do something nice with.
So you have the funds to do something nice with. So it is kind of a benefit to your fixed income to have something come in to do something fun with.
And you have the certainty that that check is going to continue year after year, for the rest of your life.
Yeah, now with the charitable remainder unit trusts, you actually pick an investment strategy that can go up and down with the market. So that's why I said it all depends on how risk adverse you may be. Right. But for somebody who just wants to see a fixed payment come for life, a charitable gift annuity is really a great way to make a gift to the foundation.
Okay.
Plus, oftentimes, though, it's certainly not guaranteed that the rate of earnings on that is higher than what you might get in an investment, particularly the last few years, given how low money market and other fixed income rates are.
Yeah. So, I had a gentleman who moved a CD into a charitable gift annuity and went from receiving a 1% return on the CD to a 6% return on his gift annuity. And the other part of that is when you make a gift to a charitable gift annuity or to a trust, you also receive major donor recognition. So that's the other nice part about this.
And the tax benefits too.
And the tax benefits.
Right. So multiple opportunities out of that.
And with a trust, you can get creative depending on how you form the trust.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So I've seen some trusts. I actually am the trustee for a trust my father managed for years. And it's very creative the way he crafted that to make sure that his wife was taken care of, but that she didn't have access to all that money and go crazy. But then that his passions, and he happened to be very involved in the Masonic Temple and all, a very Masonic orientated family. And so, that was really where his passion lied. And reading those documents, really reading them for the first time, was interesting to me because I had never thought that you could be that creative. Absolutely. I really didn't know enough. Now I do. I know more than I ever really wanted to. But, you can get, with a trust, you really kind of can get really very creative and still make sure that your loved ones are taken care of.
Yeah. And Jamie, you've brought up such a good point when you talked about, your father and crafting this, is one of the things that we always encourage at the foundation is for the spouse to be involved, and sometimes even the entire family to be involved. I had a couple that left a bequest, and we were going to establish a named endowed fund, and they said, well, we really want to talk to our children before we even decide on a designation. So again, circling back to what I love about the work I do is the fact that I get to have these meaningful conversations, and we always encourage that it become, a family conversation so that everybody has input. And I have many stories I can tell about where you sit down with the Rotarian who thinks they know what they want to do, and then their spouse sits down and says, well, wait a minute, I really love child and maternal health. Right. And then it changes the whole structure of the gift and really has a great outcome.
And Debra, you've been doing this for a pretty long time.
8.5 years.
So I would imagine that you've been exposed to a lot of creativity and figured out, with the help of other Rotarians, a lot of creative ways in which to do this where, again, you're still able to enjoy some of your years of hard work but make, again, a gift that can change and save lives.
And also, you know, one of the wonderful things about my work is the opportunity to meet with Rotarians and really find out what is their passion and hear these incredible stories about, you know, what got them into Rotary and, you know, what is it. I've had people say, I wouldn't have been in Rotary if it wasn't for the fact that Rotary is going to end polio because my mother or my father.
Right.
Or so there's these great stories that you hear from people that just really touch your heart.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about creativity, and obviously there's a whole range of that with respect to these things. There's an entirely different category there where you can be extremely creative, and that's with non-liquid gifts. And the example, you know, things like real estate, business interests, you know, even things like collectibles and art, just a whole range of things. And oftentimes people don't realize that those are gifts that they can make and gain the same benefits
Right.
and the foundation can.
Right.
So as a simple example, someone might own a piece of land, they might sell it, and then of course they're probably looking at paying capital gains on that. Instead, what they could do would be to make a gift of that piece of real estate, or it might have a income-producing property on it, all that, or a business interest. The thing they oftentimes don't realize beyond that is that it could be a partial interest too. For example, you might want to just sell a partial interest in a piece of real estate, or you know, something like that, or a business interest. And
So again, you can be pretty creative.
absolutely. Oftentimes, Rotarians are themselves business owners. They have their own business, or they have a partial interest in a business. What they should seriously think about as a strategy is when they're ready to sell something like that, is to get their tax advisors to look at creative ways of making a gift either before or as part of the transaction itself.
So part of the exit plan should be
Exactly.
that gift to Rotary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can, not only can it result in a nice benefit to the Rotary Foundation, it can also result potentially in substantial savings to the donor. You know, dramatically more than if they, you know, just sold the asset and then decided to contribute some of the cash as a result of the sale. So clearly, their tax and legal advisors could really help them out with that. So I encourage anyone who's thinking of you know, selling a business, a part of a business, a piece of land, you know, even a collectible. This may make sense to them.
Right.
Now, we will just as a caveat, besides talking to your tax advisor, probably an appraisal will be required to do that.
Certainly, yes, I would imagine.
But,
sure.
but even apart from that, it can be very, very beneficial to them.
And we actually have a gift acceptance policy in place that was set forth by our trustees. I always say, you know, if somebody brings a suggestion, something creative, something they're thinking of, you know, we never say no. And there's actually, you know, we present that to our trustees. We actually have a gift acceptance committee, and they will review it and then come back. So we don't get a lot of gifts in this regard, but we do, and some of them have been really interesting in how they've worked out.
Cool. Anything else on this subject? I think we've pretty much covered everything. Yeah. Okay. We're going to go to break, and we will be back. We're going to, again, I think, maybe change the names to protect the innocent, and we'll be back after these commercial breaks. Yeah, guys? No, not.
Keep talking.
us. And
Welcome back to my Rotary Show, doing good and having fun. As you can see, once again, the faces have changed. So I want to make sure that we introduce the folks that have joined us. Of course, we still have Carl Treleaven with us and his lovely wife, Lena. Now, Lena and Carl are what we call Arch Clump Society members, which is actually quite an honor, and they are recognized for their significant contribution to the Rotary Foundation. And then we have Mike Fitzgerald, who you all have met before. Mike and his wife, Sandra, who is not with us because she has lost her voice and not able to speak, which, trust me, is very difficult for Sandra. They are major donors, as well as Jim and Sue, who I just met Sue this afternoon, just a few minutes before we came on the air. And Jim and Sue are not only major donors, but they're also new to our district. They moved into our district about a year and a half ago.
July 1st.
July 1st, really?
Arch Clump
Seems like you've been here and your Arch Clump Society as well. Okay, so we have some major donors here for the Rotary Foundation, and folks that have been Rotarians for a significant amount of time, traveled all over the world, all of you have, doing different grants and projects. So Carl has given me some questions that I want to make sure I ask correctly and ask to the right person. So I'm going to direct this one first to Jim and Sue, and Sue has said mostly to Jim. So what inspired you to make this significant gift to Rotary? Which I imagine has something to do with Jim's Rotary story.
Well, that's right. I mean, everybody has a Rotary story, right? I joined Rotary in 1979, became president of my club in Elyria, Ohio, 188 members in 1989, became assistant governor in 90, and was appointed to be a group study exchange leader to the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
In 1991. And when we arrived, I had 4 young professionals, and I was only 42 at the time, so I was about their age too.
Yeah, just above the line.
But we got off the plane, and the very first person that greeted me was Benny Santos. Now, for you that don't know, and I didn't know who it was at the time, Benny Santos was a past district governor and a past director of Rotary International, but he could be, in some ways, named the person that started our whole Polio Plus program. And I got to know him over that month stay, and if you were ever around a person that someone would say, well, it'd be like in the presence of Mother Teresa, that's how I felt.
Oh, wow.
He was an incredible man. Well, you learned his story, which we don't have enough time to tell all of it, but basically, he was a driving force that immunized all of the Philippines, when at that time it was the highest per capita of polio in the world.
Yeah.
And then he went on the board at RI, and when they were discussing projects to do and talked about the possibility of immunizing the world for polio. He said, well, if we can do it in Philippines, why can't we do it for the world? So it went from that. But beyond that, he had the Malos Eye clinic there, and he operated on people in the Philippines with cataracts that couldn't see. And he spent 2 weeks a year in India helping people that couldn't see. So if you have a moment of when I changed from just being a member of Rotary to becoming a Rotarian, it was when I met Benny Santos.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. That would be hard not to become a Rotarian if that was the case. Okay, so now, Carl and Lena, what is it about that the Rotary Foundation that really touched your hearts? Now, you guys have done a lot of polio immunization days. You have some great stories.
Yeah.
The towel story is my favorite, but
we have been blessed to travel to India for NIDs.
you're probably going to want to hold that closer to you, sweetie.
We've been blessed to travel to India for NIDs and also Nigeria, where the towel story comes in.
Oh, there, he's got it on.
Okay, and we've been blessed to see firsthand the projects that Rotary Foundation has supported, and to see the impact that they make. And it's not only just an impact for a couple of people or a little village, it really impacts a community of many people who benefit. And a year and a half ago, we also traveled to Ghana to see the Rotary Foundation projects for sanitation and water wells, and that one was really just, it just moves as a mother and as a nurse to see children to be able to have clean, fresh water.
Solves a lot of problems.
Oh, it does. It does. The kids just don't get sick like they used to, and they can grow up, and it's just phenomenal to see. And even something as simple as sanitation is having a toilet, and to see how excited they get, and they paint it, and they keep it locked up, and they don't have to worry about going out into the fields at night, worrying about snakes and other things that can happen when you have to go into the middle of fields to use the facilities.
And I think that's one of the things that, and I know Mike and Sandra experienced the same thing. When you go on a National Immunization Day, it's more than just immunizing children, because they show you, and they're very proud of, all of the projects that they've done.
Absolutely.
And so you see not only polio plus situations, but you see really the real reach of the foundation and how it's changed people's lives.
It does. Absolutely. Absolutely. And as a Rotarian spouse, I'm very proud of the work that Carl's been able to do with Rotary and the foundation.
Well, and I think now, Mike, you and Sandra have kind of built your way up to being a major donor. And what really do you think pushed you over to the edge to really focus on that and really want to do that?
The trip to India. We, like she was saying, we saw the polio and what that did. We had people stop you in the neighborhood to tell you the history of polio in their neighborhood. But we saw the Heart Institute. We saw local community health fairs. We saw the St. Stephen's Hospital, where they repair polio so people can walk again. We just saw so many things. There was a Rotary blood bank. And the interaction with Rotarians. And they've been doing this polio thing for a lot of years, and they get burnt out on it. And we show up, we're looking at it, they're seeing us, they're seeing it through our eyes, and they get excited again.
Yeah.
I mean, and it just got infectious.
And how do you share that with other Rotarians? How do you tell your story to other Rotarians? It's difficult to sometimes transfer that, what you've seen and how it's changed your lives. How do you do that?
Well, I didn't go on an NID, but I did go on a weekend to El Salvador, and we took a container of wheelchairs down.
Oh.
And so I saw a different but the same story, the same effect, because we put the wheelchairs together, and then we put the people in the wheelchairs and down. When you come back, you're up here. And so you try and tell your story. You put together a PowerPoint, or you put together something, and then you get out to as many local clubs as you possibly can and share the pictures and share the enthusiasm. And they won't get quite the feeling that you had being there, but that's about the best way you can do it.
And I think, don't you think? I mean, it's important for everyone to understand that we all can hope to be major donors at some point in our lives, but that it does start out small. It doesn't have to be a stroking of a large check all at once. It can be, you can be the turtle, and you can go at after 1 month at a time, 1 year at a time, to get to that major donor status. Because some folks, especially young folks that are in their 30s and 40s, and we attract more of those now in Rotary, hopefully even more as time goes on. A lot of those folks are paying for soccer lessons and things like that. They're paying for their kids to do this, or college, that are very expensive and obviously should be their priority. And then they're able to actually go ahead and get to a point in their lives where they're able to be major donors.
Well, one thing to think about that way is the person who's a Rotarian in his or 30s or 40s, children at home, with lots of other obligations and all. Perhaps one of the best things to do is simply to be involved with projects that his or her club is doing right now, because there's a very good chance that either it's directly or at least indirectly connected with the Rotary Foundation.
Yeah.
And by doing those projects, an opportunity then will come up to discover their passion. And chances are every one of us, walked in without realizing this is something we'd get passionate about.
Exactly.
And then suddenly realize, whoa, this is really important.
Yeah,
I want to do something about this.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
And this will be their opportunity too.
Yeah.
So even if you don't have an opportunity today to stroke a big check or do something like that, get involved in a project and discover what you really care about. Everything else will take care of itself.
Exactly.
And I think that goes back to the fact that the Rotary Foundation is so highly recommended by the overall charitable, I forget the name, the charity
navigator, yes.
That you feel like even if you're a small giver, you're giving your money to the best, to the safest, to the area that's going to do the most good with your money.
Right. Your money is going to be taken care of, whether it be $100,000 or it be $25.
Exactly.
It's irrelevant to Rotary Foundation. They're taking care of all of the money as good stewards. Well, we're running out of time, unfortunately. This always happens. The 60 minutes goes so fast. But I want to thank all of you, because your leadership in giving, I know all of you are humble about your giving. I had the honor of presenting Lena and Carl their Arch Clump when I was governor, and I was very honored to do that, and I know you're very humble about it. But you are setting an example for others, and I thank you for that. Truly. And I always get emotional about this, but I really I admire all of you for your contribution and your dedication to Rotary, because without that, we could not do all of the things you just explained that we do with that money. And it's really important for folks to see you wear your pins, to hear about how you have given to this foundation, because it's through that giving that we make this place we call the world a better place. So thank you very, very much for your participation today, as well as your gifts to the Rotary Foundation. Conference, as well as the international conference actually happening in Atlanta. And if you have not made your registration for that yet, shame on you. You need to do it now. Now is the time. But we're really going to go through that and dive into it, because there's some fun things coming up. The district conference is going to be very memorable, to say the least. And I know a certain past district governor and her dance partner, who will be hot off the trail of an international dance competition from Boston the week before, will be performing at the Governor's Gala. So for all of you that have wanted to watch me dance, now is your time. The Governor's Gala is the place, so register now. But we'll go through all of that, and until then, go out and have fun and do good. See you next week.